can.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Right. I hope you can all see. Good
We can.
morning, or yes, everything fine? Okay. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone. I'm Raz Kupferman, and as kindly presented by Jared, I'm a mathematician, also one of the founders of Matific and its chief scientist. And indeed, we're going to talk about game-based learning. So since we only have 40 minutes, let me go forward. Well, I think that the entire community, research community, teachers and so on, all believe that game-based learning has a huge potential in increasing engagement, having children be happy doing mathematics, reduce anxiety and so on. No need to read what's written on the screen. But my immediate question is, when we were talking about engagement, is engage with what? Okay, so actually, let me be over simplistic for a split second, and let's think about the dichotomic world of good content, good game, bad game. And I will ask a not trick question: where would you like to be? Have good content with good gamification, or bad content with bad gamification. I think we'd all agree that the gold medal goes to the very good content within a very good game. Okay, but that's just the gold medal. So what about the silver medal? We're educators, and I guess we all believe that, the most important is the content. So the silver medal goes here. And then, of course, the bronze medal, let's keep something good game, bad content. Really? I mean, do we want to engage children with bad content? So every time I hear the word gamification, my immediate instinct is to think about gambling applications. They're very well gamified, and yet I do not suggest that you offer them to your students at school. Okay, so good gamification is not necessarily positive, or differently stated, the connection between games or game-based learning and the educational benefits is much more complex than what we may think. Okay, so I think there's a lot to gain, but there's also, to say it mildly, something to lose, maybe a lot to lose in gamified learning. So let me start with drawbacks, actually. So gamified learning often means even more screen time, more than we already have a lot of it. It's very often an adverse distraction. You may actually, when I think about bad content, good game, what I think mostly is consolidate misconceptions. We're talking about too much rote learning, well, even more of that very often. And finally, I would say that games are often competitive, and competition is not favorable to everybody. So after this short introduction, maybe it's the time to reframe my lecture on how to extract the benefits of game-based learning while avoiding its pitfalls. And the entire lecture will be through examples from Matific games. The games will be shown as screenshots, but of course I urge all of you to go and play them actually to see what, how they really look like. And this whole lecture will be centered through three pain points, I would say, of math education. And the first one is the fact that math is boring. Well, I just told you I'm a mathematician, so would I really think that math is boring? No, absolutely not. And yet I think that most of the world perceives math as something boring. And the truth is that still today, 21st century, the majority of the learning resources still are based on very standard worksheets and word problems like Julia made a necklace, how many beads did she use, or mark all the right triangles, or solve worksheets, arithmetic worksheets. And the fact is that this doesn't work. Well, in what sense? Maybe it works in terms uh, of having children solve simple arithmetic problems. But I think that except for maybe the addition table and the times table, everything else doesn't work. I mean, you can have children solve tens of worksheets about fraction division. Maybe for a while they will get it, but it's very quickly forgotten. Just do an experiment. Go outside to the street, ask adults, and see how much they remember of what they did at school. And the common EdTech solution to that is this, the same on a computer. Well, we can do better than that, obviously, right? For example, we can do this. Okay, that's improved, as you can see, with dragons. And we can do even better. Yes, there's actually an app that has children solve worksheets. And if they do well, they get to feed virtual kittens. Okay, really look around the EdTech world. That's what you mostly see. And what I have to say about it is that, yes, gamified worksheets are very easy to produce. You can have them in unlimited amounts. They're verified automatically. However, they have major drawbacks. First, I think that there's an implicit message that says, math is boring. And that's why we need to sugarcoat it with kittens. From my point of view, even worse. It sends a message that this is actually mathematics. I think in terms of honesty, we're telling our students that, math is exciting, and then we give them something really fake. I think we're being dishonest. And after all this, I still think that it doesn't work. So gamification, which is what I just showed, is not the same as game-based learning. And if I were to say it in very simple terms, in gamification, math is incorporated in a game, whereas in game-based learning, math is the game. And let me go right away to an example. And the example will come from a curricular topic of adding and subtracting within the range of 20, first grade, using a number line model. This would be the worksheet, the standard worksheet, which is not evil, but I think we can do much better than that. And that's an example from a Matific game. So what you see here is a rail with holes, numbered holes. There's a monster under one of the holes, number 14. There's a cookie above hole number 9. And the player, the student, has to place springs that are placed on the bottom of the screen on the rail, such that the cookie, by hopping on those springs, will reach the monster. For example, that's a wrong solution, okay? And the cookie gets instead to hole number 15, misses the monster, and the monster is unhappy and asks the student to correct the solution. And that would be a correct solution. 8 forward, 6 backward, 3 forward, right into the monster's mouth. But there's also another solution. 3 forward, 6 backward, 8 forward, again to the monster, and yet another solution. Actually, think how many different solutions there are. And now let's reflect a little bit about what we've just seen. First, I hope you would all agree that in this case, the game is the math, okay? It's not solving 8 plus 4 and then get some reward. Making errors is funny, and that's very, very important. And in addition, making errors is also instructive because you see right away by how much you missed the monster, and it gives you an immediate first link of how to correct it. This game can be easily brought into, first it's multi-step by construction, but then you can have various questions and level going up very quickly. You have an opportunity to explore multiple solutions. And finally, aha moments, like discover that things are commutative, and that's why you have multiple solutions. And by the way, we're all taught that addition is commutative, and subtraction is not. But on the other hand, you saw here very quickly that you can commute the strings going forward or backward. And yes, it's commutative because adding positive and negative numbers is commutative. All right, so that was one pain point. Let me go to number 2. Math anxiety, something we could probably talk a whole week about. And I'm going to focus on one particular aspect, which I think has a lot to do with math anxiety. And that's the fact that very often children are not prepared to what they're learning. So they need to very rapidly assimilate new concepts. Okay, they have to give meaning to that, like fractions, for example. What does it mean? There are new representations. And again, fractions, all of a sudden you have a number composed of two numbers. Is it a number? It's an operation. What is it exactly? And as a result, and it goes all the way through all the years of math education, children adopt what I would call a survival mode. I don't want to understand. Just tell me what to do. Yes, we're dividing fractions, so we invert and multiply, and I'm disconnected from what it means and when, if I ever need to use it, in which application, and so on. And actually, before showing you lack of preparedness, let me give actually the other case of being prepared. Let's talk about counting up to 20. Children are exposed to numbers and counting and comparison from a very young age. I have 4 children. I remember with each of them as babies, we count everything. We start to walk, we count steps, and so on. All those counting books, counting videos, counting songs, it all goes through the preschool years. And, in every possible situation. And by the age of 6, when they get to school, 5, they've already been exposed for several years to numbers, counting, comparison, quantities, right? I have more, I have less. And when they get to school, what do in the formation year and first grade? Again, they count, they add, they subtract, they compare, things they have been exposed to for several years. And in contrast with that, let's talk now about fractions. Okay, so because I've been giving this lecture in many countries, I just chose one curriculum, okay, but I think it applies to all curricula, and it's the American Common Core. That's what you have about fractions in grade 1 in the curriculum. Partition circles and rectangles into 2 and 4 equal shares and describe the shares using the words halves, fourths, and quarters. And grade 2, almost the same, except that now they also have thirds. So that's the first 2 years, and it's just probably a very few hours for the entire years of exposure to fractions. And then we get to grade 3. Okay, and all of a sudden you have a long list of things they have to learn, understanding the meaning of the fraction 1 over b and a over b on a number line. Okay, we won't read through all it, we don't have time, but it's not all of it, there's more. Okay, and you have to explain equivalence of fractions in special cases because it's only grade 3. Okay, and compare and do comparison, and it's not over. And then all of a sudden, there's also again the question of equivalent fractions and understanding that actually a whole number is also a fraction, and all this in 3rd grade. And yes, that's, I guess, the results. So how can we cope with this? Well, by something we educators call thinking ahead. And I think that game-based learning gives a great opportunity of having children meet new concepts ahead of time in the same way, when a child is 1-year-old, starts to walk, and we count with them their steps 1 to 3, we don't ask ourselves whether it's in the curriculum or not, are they too young or not. We just do it. We play with them, okay? So if we're referring to fractions, Matific has a few dozens of games for young age, which are just an early exposure to fractions, like making a necklace that has exactly half of its beads round, or placing birds in a third of the cells. Okay, place more than a quarter of the circle on zone B, and so on and so forth. And the idea, again, a few words, is to have them exposed informally to those new concepts. And when they get to grade 3, part of the curriculum, they've had this early exposure. It's not, not everything is new. And since I don't want to give you the impression that I'm only referring to the youngest ages, let's talk now about integer arithmetics, okay? And questions like 8 minus negative 12. It's a very good example of where children very often adopt a survival mode, right? Yes, negative is positive, so it's the same as 8 plus 12, it's 20, the end. And I'll show an example from a young age mathematical activity. And the setting is this hotel built on a cliff. The entrance floor is just in the middle, so you have positive and negative floors. The child, the player, is the protagonist of the story, and it has to help. The elevator is broken, unfortunately, and it has to help managing the hotel. So that's an example of a warm-up question. We are at the ground floor. We need to go to floor negative 12. How many floors do we have to go down? Okay, again, a warm-up question. And so it's a mathematical activity. It's all playable. You can yourself start exploring the hotel up and down, count floors, and so on. If you make a mistake and got to the wrong floor, you get cursed by the customer that you woke up. Again, funny, I hope. And then we're at negative 12. We have to go to floor 8. And the question is, how many floors do we have to go up? And if it reminds you a question like 8 minus negative 12, maybe it's because it's related. And if you make an error, at some point you get a hint that shows you the setting. Okay, we're at negative 12. We have to go past the ground floor all the way to floor number 8, and so on. And once again, let's reflect a little bit about what we've just seen. So first, this activity gives us an informal glimpse into integer arithmetics. And it's accessible to, I mean, if you think of it, okay, if you know how to count to 20 or 40, you can solve the question, okay, without, learning formally integer arithmetics. The setting is natural. Maybe not this hotel on a cliff, but certainly at the mall, very often the parking is at a negative floor and you parked at -3, you have to go to the second floor. So it's a very natural daily life setting. Once again, making errors is both funny and instructive, because when you make an error, when you say a wrong solution, actually the bellboy goes all the way, gets to the wrong floor. You see what happened, you see by how much you missed. The reaction to errors, as we all know, is very, very important in any learning process. Which brings me to pain point number 3, having to do with problem solving. So let's talk about problem solving. So, okay, first, what are problem solving skills? I will just read from here. The ability to combine previously acquired knowledge, techniques, and strategies for solving new problems. And very often, when you have this new problem, it doesn't tell you to, which topic it belongs. You have already acquired what's needed, and the idea here is to combine things together to be able to solve problems. It's prominent in every curriculum, and yet, as this PISA report claims, in the OECD countries, situation is not good. Okay, half of the students are unable to solve problems that are more difficult than very, very basic. They don't get to the skills of really being able to combine knowledge, techniques, and strategies. And a good question is, why do we fail? And I say we because it's everywhere in the world. Okay. So I think there are a few answers to that. And the first one is maybe our own misconception, where we often believe that elementary school mathematics, is a base, you have to learn it, and then you can do serious mathematics later on. And I think it's completely
Hoe jy
wrong.
games kan gebruik om wiskunde beter in jou klas te maak.
There's someone that has to mute. Sorry. Okay, so if you think that it's too elementary, take this one, okay? You can try to solve it after my lecture. You have 3 vessels of 3, 5, and 8 ounces, and you have to split the fluid equally into 4 and 4, but there are no marks on those vessels, so the only thing you can do is fill in and out a fluid, and it's a difficult question, but if you think of it, the mathematical skills needed to solve are just addition and subtraction up to 8, nothing more. And yet, it's a real problem that's not easy even for adults. Try it later on. Okay, then I want to say another reason is a lack of resources. And very often when I show the riddle I just showed on the previous slide, the reaction is, wonderful. But how many more such good questions can you actually come up with? And also, I think there's often a confusion between problem solving and word problems. I mean, I've met with a lot of teachers in many countries where problem solving is associated with Julia made a necklace. How many beads did she use? Okay, the word problem appears in both, but it's definitely not what I would call problem solving. And finally, I think another reason why we're not good at educating children to do problem solving is overprotection. There is no really problem solving without confusion, failure, and you have really to persevere and sometimes be happy from partial solutions, small progress, and so on. However, for us adults, very often, the words confusion and failure certainly are viewed as a threat on children. Okay, we have to avoid that, otherwise they will avoid them. And that's where I think that game-based learning really is, has a very, very strong potential. It has the ability to offer difficult problems in a non-threatening environment. And remember that for children, if a game is easy, then it's boring, it's not interesting. Children, when they play, they want challenge. And that's where I think we can be very, very effective. So what I'm just going to show you now is just a few screenshots of Matific games starting from young ages, okay, and all display some kind of problem-solving type of questions. Like that's for very young age. You have to this extraterrestrial village that you have to build, and you have these houses and those trees and flowers, and you have somehow to assemble a village that will comprise altogether 3 doors, 7 windows, and 4 flowers. Okay. You're just developing right now skills of addition. That's from higher grades, this kind of river crossing riddles. Okay, in this question, there's a boat that can accommodate at most 2 campers or 1 counselor, and all this group has to cross safely the river. These are classical questions. Geometry, okay? Instead of marking all the right triangles, what you have to do here is to draw actually a triangle that is both a right triangle and isosceles. And maybe it's impossible. You have to try. If you succeeded, you send a drawing. Maybe you convince yourself that it's impossible, then you answer it's impossible, okay? It's all very hands-on, learn by doing, but it's problem solving. Logic riddles, okay? In this one, you have 3 streets, you have 3 houses, 3 dogs, and you have to place on each street a house and a dog, but you have to make sure that all those specifications are met, like the dog who lives in the greenhouse often visits Reno, which means that Reno does not live in the greenhouse, and so on. And finally, we have a whole suite of activities that I call pre-algebraic activities. Okay, so in this problem, if you remember the first Indiana Jones movie, you have to steal the ring by replacing it, but by something that has the same weight, meaning that the same weight as this yellow shape. Okay, but then when you go aside, you see that a yellow shape is like a heart, and this purple shape, and the purple shape is like two hearts. Now it's all interactive. You can start to do algebra, okay, by replacing on the scale on the left the purple shape with two hearts, because we've just seen that it's two hearts, and then go back, and now that you know that the yellow shape has the same weight as three hearts, you can do the replacement. If you fail, if you made an error, the scale will be imbalanced, and that will wake up the gorilla, and you lose. Okay, so classical game, but if you think about what a child is doing, they're doing algebra. Okay. Okay, some reflections about that as well. So Matific really, we have right now already probably about 2,000 activities, out of which I would say that a few hundreds are problem solving. Okay, you actually apply mathematics to solve problems. The fact that it's a game setting definitely neutralizes anxiety. All grades, okay? So again, all those who believe that it's only, problem solving, you have to start it at some point after you learned enough basics. No, you can start it at year 3, actually. And if we wanted to convey a message that math is not boring, that's the way, okay? Not by adding dragons and feeding kittens. And it definitely, I think, offers a solution to a chronic pain in math education. Okay, as this OECD report showed, we're not doing a good job in that. All right, I'm a scientist, so we're never sure that we do the right thing, right? So yes, but can we really base math education on games? Let me question that for a second. So first, quoting the greatest, David Hilbert, one of the greatest mathematicians of the turn of the 20th century, said that mathematics is a game played according to certain simple rules with meaningless marks on paper. And hardy British mathematician said that basically mathematics is a young man's game. It was about 100 years ago. So he didn't know that it's also a young woman's game. Let's forgive him just because it was a long time ago. So what I'm saying is that from the point of view of real mathematicians, math is a game. And yet, yes, I agree that learning math, doing math involves learning, the ability to articulate your reasonings with precision, addressing criticism or criticizing others. And finally, I definitely believe, I'm a teacher myself, that learning math requires both the professional and the emotional support of teachers. And yet, I still believe that the potential of game-based learning is underexploited. And I'm getting towards the end of my lecture. I will just first remind ourselves that, yes, we already talked about the fact that every curricular topic is playable and it's fun. It's a safe environment for learning and making errors. It's a good platform for seeding ahead, early assimilation, an excellent platform for doing problem solving. It's also a very good platform for introducing new concepts, having a series of games that transition you smoothly from the concrete to the abstract. The child is active, okay? In all the matific activities, you actually have to do something, okay? And when I say to do something, not just inserting numbers, Julie, but you actually have to create something or move something around. There's actually an activity. And finally, game-based learning, I think, greatly facilitates personalized learning, which is very important. We are all aware of our heterogeneous classrooms and the challenge that they pose for us. So yes, every curricular topic is playable. I really mean it, and I will just show a sequence of screenshots from all kind of Matific activities. Okay, just 16 screenshots out of close to 2,000 now. Okay, just to show you the diversity of the settings of the stories that go along Matific activities. Okay, comes from the world of arithmetics, of geometry, and we saw logic, we saw algebra. Okay, really very, very diverse, and it's very important because when we talk about the ability of children to use mathematics in different contexts, in different situations, well, we have to expose them to different contexts if we want them to have this ability. Okay, so yes, I cannot end without a take-home message. So I deeply believe that game-based learning has the potential to engage and invoke curiosity, creativity, develop the skills that we expect from children in the 21st century. On the other hand, it also has the negative potential to consolidate bad practices and reinforce the already excessive procedure-based learning. Okay, look around you in the edtech industry and ask yourself how much of what you see is really reinforcing procedure-based learning. So I started with this oversimplistic collection of medals. Yes, the gold medal goes to the good content and the good game. They have to go together. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my lecture, and I will be very pleased to answer questions if there are any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raz. If you can stop sharing, I think you already
Yes.
have. I will take over control while you have an opportunity to look at some of the questions there. There's particular questions I point out just people wanting to know whether or not they'll be able to get access to your slides. So I'll let you answer that when you come back. Everyone will get, however, the recording of this video, of the presentation as a video. And if someone in particular would like you to talk about assisting with dyscalculia and how these types of activities can assist there. What I will do while you're having a look at that is take us back to my slideshow and just give you a little bit about Matific in particular, because some of you are already very familiar with Matific, some updates on what's new while Raz is having a quick look at those questions. Now, the presentation today is not specifically about Matific. It's about game-based learning, but obviously we're a platform that very much is based on game-based learning. And I was a teacher myself who came across Matific 10 years ago and recognized that while a lot of digital platforms were great for mathematical fluency, I couldn't see that they were really addressing how you develop conceptual understanding until I found Matific. And then I saw that with Matific, because it was not just gamifying the activities or playing the activities of the game, but putting things, as Raz said, in context, giving the kids virtual manipulatives, giving them visual models, that it supported exactly everything I believed about the maths teaching I was doing when it wasn't digital. And so for the first time, I thought, great, here is an opportunity to not be using 21st century technology to deliver perhaps 19th or 18th century pedagogy. And it became a great supplementary resource to my core teaching, something the students do while I'm working in small groups and they're working independently or also for homework and so on, but also sometimes instructionally. I still tutor and I sometimes use the activities in my tutoring. So it is aligned to various curricula around the world. People have been asking in particular. So what happens is whatever locale your account is put into, then that determines. So for instance, in New Zealand, we have both the previous and the new New Zealand curriculum. Some independent schools there said they also wanted, I'm trying to think now what it was, but another particular offering out of the UK. So that's made available to them. So we can make different curricular options available. So you can search for your content. as it aligns to your curriculum or to your textbook or commercial program. So I've particularly focused OUP there, or focused on Oxford University Press, because in Australia and New Zealand in particular, we not only have alignment with them, but special pricing for schools that use Matific in conjunction with Oxford University Press. We use AI a great deal, so activities can be auto-assigned to the students. So you can, I'll show you in a moment one of the new ways of doing that. But basically you can not have to be heavily hands-on with Matific if you don't want to be. You can, as it says, the next point, personalize the learning by setting the learning level for the students, and then setting what it is you're teaching, and the activities will be auto-assigned to the students. And then last year, we really built out the reporting platform of Matific so that we don't just now give you scores and completion of activities, but we give you diagnostic data that shows you how the students are tracking against your curriculum across the whole span of year levels, and which concepts they've mastered and which concepts they are still developing. So some of the new features, just to bring to your attention. So this one really came out late last year, but a lot of people are still discovering it, but it's so powerful. And that is, under activities, you can now set your focus topic. And you, by default, set it to the following Friday, but you can set it for as short or as long a period as you like. And then that means that whatever you're being teaching the students will not only get activities on that focus topic, but at their personal learning level. So you can, I was setting up a little one teacher school today. And so those students are all going to be in the one class, but they're all going to have their own personal learning level. And that teacher will be able to say, we're doing addition. Everyone's going to get addition activities, but at perhaps 8 different levels of learning. Then next thing I'd like to show you is that, that we are bringing out next month. No, it's this month now. We're on the 1st of May. So within 2 weeks, we already have the capacity for students to play games where they compete with one another. You can cast a game, an activity to the students' devices in a competitive mode or a non-competitive mode. But at the moment, the way the students compete is by playing the games individually against time and then seeing who got the best score in the best time. These multiplayer activities are actually going to have a lot more of a social aspect. Just like when you're playing cards, students will take turns. And there can be some strategy involved in students choosing certain answers to block other students from perhaps advancing within the little competition they're having. We think this will especially appeal to the older students. Matific now goes into the middle school, into the first 3 years of secondary schooling or high school. So those students tend to prefer playing games where they're interacting with other players, and this will enable that. And then in terms of, I saw people asking about the audio aspect. Yes, there's a speech bubble that you click on, and that will read the activities to the students, and it will do so we have Matific translated into 40 to 50 different languages for different countries around the world. And whatever country you're in, you have access to all those different languages. So you can have different students having their Matific delivered to them in different languages. But we've just done a whole lot of work, or our product team has, on making Matific compliant with certain accessibility aspects that now digital platforms should meet. And that means you'll find that when you go onto the website now, you'll see this little icon. If you click on that, it'll give you this drop-down menu, and you'll be able to see that for students, perhaps for visual impairment, there's ways of changing the size of the text, highlighting where the links are, putting it from color into grayscale, and so on. When you're this won't be out now till it's on the website in the form I just showed you, but for individual students to have this set, that's coming May 12. So what you'll find is when you go in to edit your student details, where not only can you do things like change their language and their learning level and so on, you'll be able to say for certain students, they need that accessibility mode, whereas others perhaps don't. So what we'll do now, before we come to that special offer, is we'll just come back to the questions that you'd like to address, Raz. If you unmute yourself, tell me if you need me to stop sharing my screen, otherwise I'll just leave it on.
Yeah, yes, you can stop for a second. So yeah, I went through while you were talking, sorry, I went through the questions. I hope I got them all. I apologize if not. All right, so let me start with the easy ones, okay? Worried that children cannot yet read. All our activities come with a voiceover, so can be played without reading skills, okay? That's an easy one. Does it work offline was another question. So the web version does not work offline, but the mobile phones or tablets do work offline. Once you get back online, all the data will be again updated, okay? Your data as a user, but it can be played offline on mobiles and tablets. Okay. There was a question about is there any plan to create more contents? That sometimes there's a feeling that there aren't sufficiently many activities on certain topics. Okay, so first, Matific is creating new content all the time and also improving all the time existing contents. Now, if you don't find enough content on a certain topic, the first thing I would suggest is to contact our customer satisfaction team. Maybe they could address you to content that you haven't seen. But otherwise, there will be, of course, a report in the company that we're missing content and we will make new content. So, okay, assessment. Is there an assessment as you start? And the answer is yes. Okay, there's a short assessment just to, get general idea of where the player, the child, stands. So the answer is yes. So I will just say that from my experience, playing something that's too easy is not necessarily negative. Children enjoy very often playing easy games if they're interesting, okay? And very often, although they master right in mathematics, they discover something new, okay? Even though it's easy. On the other hand, of course, if it's too difficult, that could be frustrating, and that's something we're trying to avoid by pre-assessment. There was a question of, how many hours a week, a day should a child play? I don't have an answer for that, okay? It depends very much on the teaching practice at your school, in your class. Of course, too little is ineffective, but sometimes, I don't know, 2 hours a week could be sufficient. On the other hand, in many places, Matific is used at home, okay, maybe without any limitation and, driven by the children's own motivation. What we've definitely seen, and there's been a lot of research accompanying Matific in many countries, is that Matific is very, very effective in improving children's level in mathematics. There was a question about dyscalculia. I'm not an expert in that, okay? And of course, it's a very wide spectrum of disability. The most I can say is that the fact that things are very concrete, explicit, should help. But of course, as I said, first, I'm not an expert, and secondly, it depends, of course, on how serious the problem is. So sorry, I don't have much to say about that. There was a very serious question about, there's a lot of emphasis today on what's called explicit instruction, which would actually counter a lot of what I said. I was talking about this early exposure, sitting ahead, do things informally is something I really believe in. And there's also a trend nowadays that says, no, don't do anything before you learn it formally at school and only then apply. So yes, I have an opinion about that, but I want to say something based on my personal experience. I'm a university professor in a very good math department. I think we've been number 14 in the world this year. We get the best school graduates of the country, and very often it's very disappointing. So the past matriculation tests that are very difficult, it takes me time to solve them. But then they come to the university and they discover that they lack very basic skills of abstraction, of precisely of being able to jump into cold water and survive and swim and and understand new concepts and so on. And that's something that school education has not provided them with, partly because everything was so well organized, but that's not how we really learn in life. So yes, I stand behind everything I said in terms of play, explore. This will provide you with the important skills that you need. There was a question more technical about homeschooling. Matific has a school product and a consumer product. I think that in this case, the consumer product is more appropriate. But once again, if you're unsure, just connect to our support team. They will be able to assist you. So these are the questions I have seen. Okay, there was a question about children being already too much online. I fully agree with that. Every parent, they should set their limits, and that's fine. Do I want to see children on Matific 18 hours a day? No. Okay, that's everything I saw. Jared, do you see any other questions you think I should reply to?
Just interesting comment made there with the dyscalculia. Fiona Bell said she actually wrote a thesis on that topic, and how doing maths through games can help reduce maths anxiety. So I just thought I'd make mention of that. And look, I've seen people are concerned about certainly some countries even more than others, but the pressure on teachers now to not only get through so much content, but to then formally assess the students, and it becomes all about teaching to the test. And I think that, as a teacher myself, I personally always tried to say I'd rather teach them less, but teach what I taught them well, so they actually got it. Then, I mean, there was a lovely comic of this once where two men are standing in a park with their dogs, and one said to the other, "What's this? I taught my dog to fetch the stick." And he throws the stick, and the dog just sits there wagging its tail. And the other guy says, "I thought you said you taught him to fetch a stick." And he says, "Yeah, I did. I didn't say he learned how to do it." And I think, that's what we're going to look at. Is it about what we teach or what the students actually learn? I'll just bring back up the slideshow. I think that the other thing I just wanted to say, just picking up before I talk about that sort of special thing there, I think your key message, Raz, is about that the maths is a game, and it's I think it's like, for someone who has to often feed their cat to stop them bombing our meetings like this, it's okay to be feeding the cat in the digital game if that's actually the game, and the maths is part of that. We have in Matific sharing out the cookies and the fruit and so on to different characters. The difference is, you're not saying to the kids, do some boring, very procedural type sheet of activity or questions, and then at the end you'll be rewarded by now you get the sugar-coated dessert, which allows you to, you feed the kittens because you did something else. In terms of the focus on explicit maths teaching at the moment, I am in discussions with two people, one who's very much about explicit maths as their approach, and someone else who's much more about ditching the algorithm and a more, rather than procedural approach to maths, about teaching maths through problem solving, number sense, logical reasoning, and so on. And because one of those presenters is in the US and one in Australia, we're looking at that probably being on during the Australian, New Zealand, South African school holidays in July, and therefore might be morning time Australia, evening time in the US, and so on in other parts of the world. So look out for that one being advertised. Now the special up here, this one I've got to make clear, sorry, it's only for Australia because of the cost of freighting these resources would be more than the actual, $30-40 we're spending on the resources. But we ran this campaign at the beginning of the year in Australia with great success. And so we're offering it again, that if people in Australia only need be a 20-minute demonstration so we can show you a bit more about Metific, the first teacher from a primary school who signs up and has one of these demonstrations will send you a bag of goodies that you use typically in the classroom. Highlighters, we've been teachers South, we know it's your blue tack, pencils, spare pencils and all that type of thing. So there is a QR code there. I think we've probably got to move that out of the way for you. Or you can take note of that web link. We'll probably put it in the email communication to you as well. People are asking, do I go to New Zealand? Yes, I'm going to be there in June for 2, maybe even 3 weeks. We've already got a lot of schools signed up. The New Zealand Ministry of Education is actually trialling Metific with secondary school students who aren't performing at secondary school level. So they're running a big pilot throughout the year, assessing it that way. But as mentioned, Metific's in multiple languages, including Te Reo Māori. So that's also one of the reasons that New Zealand is keeping me very busy at the moment, more so than Australia, where I'm based. So I will be over there. We do have a person based in South Africa, Natalia, and I have another colleague based in Melbourne. So we can do online and on-site demonstrations of Metific if you would like to explore Metific further. So last of all, there's another QR code there for you. If you wouldn't mind giving us your feedback, then oops, sorry, I'll leave that there. I was just trying to get this other pop-up out of your way, so you can definitely get it. So we'd love to know what you think of the presentations that we're doing and suggestions for others. They're not always on mathematics. Last one we did was Dr. Paul Wood from New Zealand talking about resilience and your personal and mental health. Tell us who you'd like us to bring to you, and it's just something that we do periodically throughout the year as part of our service to you. So just to reiterate, yes, everyone will get sent a certificate. It may take a week or maybe a little bit more. So don't stress, you'll get a certificate sent to you, and you'll also get the recording so that you can revisit this and share it with others. Raz, the slides, are they to be shared or not to be shared? I understand often presenters can't because it's, your intellectual property and so on.
From my point of view, they're shareable.
They are shareable. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe if we arrange to get a Google link or something to them, that when Amrita sends out the recording and the certificate, we just put a link in that email, and then those of you who want the slides will have the slides as well. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. So I'll say good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And I know we've had people in Africa, we've had people in the Middle East, people in the North America, as well as across our main market with this particular webinar was for New Zealand, Australia and South Africa. So thank you again, Raz, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.